so much had happened in those 9 days very quickly that we knew that we were under surveillance. We knew they were either coming for the body or coming for me. And enough was happening where it just didn't make any sense. And there was a time, now remember, I worked in a huge metropolitan hospital, and we had good communication with the 4 other hospitals in the city. And I had an opportunity, because I knew what was going on in these other hospitals. There was a celebrity in another hospital, and I knew who this person was only by his reputation. And I was looking for answers. I was looking for some kind of help. What do I do? Where do I go? What do I, who can I trust? Which basically nobody. So I went into the hospital and talked to this guy who was a patient, who was an astrophysicist, who had been involved with things that had to do with the possibility of extraterrestrial life. And this gentleman was Carl Sagan.
Wow.
And he was in the hospital, in the Swedish hospital, in their cancer unit, where he died shortly after I saw him, within a week or so. But I asked him straight out, what should I do? This is what's happened. And at first he was kind of arrogant and said, get out of here, don't bother me, And then I told him the whole story. I told him who I was and why I found out he was there and how I could do that. And the inter-hospital communications are pretty amazing, even back in those days. And he finally said, close the door. And I closed the door to his room, and he said, I believe everything you've said, because I know they've been here. I know they've been here for probably centuries. And they've made me say things publicly that I'm ashamed of. But he says, it's true. And he said, there are people who can help you. And he gave me a phone number on a piece of paper, just a little piece of paper. And when I left Seattle and went homeless, I had that paper with me. I had it in my wallet. And I got to a point where, like I said, I was homeless for 10 months. I was stealing food. I was breaking into people's cars, trying to survive. And I'm not proud of that.
Right.
I hate that. I was raised better, but I had no choice.
You were put into that spot.
I wasn't myself.
Right.
I was something else. He gave me that phone number, that paper, and said, you're going to get to a point where you're going to want to trust someone, and this person you can trust. And he said it in such a way that at first I didn't believe him, but I thought, well, he's sick. He's trying to be nice. I'll take this. I'll write it down. And I took it and put it in my wallet. And I was sitting in the basement of this burned out apartment where I had been existing. And I had that paper in one hand and I had a gun in the other. And I was going to end it. I was right. So tired and so exhausted and fed up with my life and what had happened. I brought so much pain into my family and my friends. I didn't care anymore. And I just figured I'm going to kill myself. And I sat there with that gun in my hand, and it was loaded. And I looked at that paper and I thought, okay, I can kill myself anytime, but I might as well call this. And it'll prove to me just what I thought, that it was just some bogus phone number. And so I went to a payphone. That's an actual rotary payphone that they have on the
Yeah, we have to explain to some people that they have these boxes right. where you can go and call people.
Right. And so I went and I called the phone number, and the second that they picked it up, I did not say a word, but they said, Jonathan, we're here to help you. Whatever you need, we're here to help you. And I immediately hung up. Because I figured somebody's watching me. somebody's going to just get me. They're going to throw me into a van and they're going to, beat me to death. So anyway, I walked around, and this was out in the middle of public square, and just watched, and nobody was around. Nobody bothered me. So I went back to that phone and I called it again. And the person on the other end of the phone said, "We know you don't trust us, but let us prove to you that we can help you. Right. What do you need?" And they said, "We'll get you food, we'll get you shelter, we'll get you somebody to help you do whatever you want." And I said, "I want money. I want some money. Give me some money so that I can eat." And I didn't even say why. I just said, "Give me some money." And they said, "How much?" I said, $100, Right. And I knew they wouldn't do it. I just knew that it was some jive thing. But I said, $100 in an envelope underneath the bench next to this building in this square where it's in public. And I want to see nobody around. Certain time the next day, I went there. I stayed for hours waiting for somebody to put it under that bench. And I knew they're not coming. And I went over and sat under the bench, and it was already there. It was already taped underneath the bench.
Wow.
I took it out, and there was the $100 and $20 bills. And it just had a note in it and says, "Whatever you need, call us. We're here for you." And of course, again, I didn't believe it, because I didn't believe anybody. I'd been living for 10 months, being chased, being hunted like a wild animal. And so I waited a few days. I called back. I said, "I need this. I need this. Can you deliver this?" And I was arrogant. I was angry. And I'm sorry, but it was the state of mind and what was existing at the time. But they came through. They did it. They did exactly what I asked. And each time they would say, "Do you need us to get you a hotel room? Do you need medical attention? We can do it all in a private place." And of course, the first thing that went through my mind is, well, they're going to kill me.
Right.
These people are just trying to kill me. But you know what? I didn't care, because I was ready to kill myself.
You reach your limit, right? So it's
Exactly.
like, yeah, whatever happens, happens.
I mean, they were torturing my parents, my friends, and I had heard about this through channels, and I thought, I'm just tired. I just don't want to cause all this problem for everybody else. And so I told them, yeah, I need some help. I need some medical attention. And they said, "Okay, you tell us where and when, and we'll be there. However many people you want, or however less people you want." And they said, "Do you want us to bring one of your relatives? We can do that." And I said, "No, I don't want to, And so I made arrangements at a hotel, certain time, certain place. They were there. They had a doctor with them. And I knew he was a doctor. I knew what he was doing, because I'm a doctor.
Right.
And I let them help me. I let them feed me. They gave me clean clothes. They let me stay there if I wanted to. If I didn't want to, that was okay with them. They just kept saying, "We're here for you." And then finally, one of them said, "Jonathan, if you want to talk about what's happened, you can with us. We know what's happened. We understand. We have dealt with a lot of people that have gone through these kind of events." And I ended up calling these people the Alliance.
Right.
Because they were well organized, they were well heeled, they had finance, they had means, and they could do whatever you wanted them to. And it wasn't any question for them. It was kindness, and it was like a military run operation. Really, really professional people. And I knew after a few days, this is better than living, behind the dumpster. And right. I started to trust them, and they started to tell me who they were and what they could do and what they'd done all over the world for people, and that this was a process.
Right.
And that I needed to know that their process was one of educating the public to know that the alien presence is a reality, and that it's been there for centuries. Even though we don't publicly talk about it, at that time, he said it will become a public awareness of what's going on, which is what's happened today.
It's happening right now, this public awareness.